Well, hello and welcome back to the Mariner. It's been a little while. Interesting times for us all, I think, during COVID, and certainly for me it was a case of getting more onto the podcast and that kind of stuff. I am now on board our 85-foot maxi Osprey. She came over and we called her Weddell at that time. We have a boat called Falcon, so I figured, well, one called Osprey can't help, can it? And Ospreys literally circle above this boat at the mooring, so it's completely appropriate. So here we are. We've been on board this boat now for, well, we've had this boat now for like, 6 months, something like that. Had a lot of work going on here. We had Ken who was helping us out. He was hoping to stay and be with us for longer, but his father unfortunately has become ill and he's had to leave. So the boat's been down here in Lunenburg. Let me just show you beautiful Lunenburg here. If you're ever thinking of coming to Canada, come and check out Lunenburg. Absolutely gorgeous place. I completely fell for this as soon as I moved here 7 years ago. But we got to take the boat back to the mooring near the house. It was alongside so that Ken could get on and off a lot easier. We're going to take it back to the house now, which is then easier for me to get backwards and forwards. I don't need to do a 10-minute transit by car. So we're just going to do a little motor around. I'm on my own today, so hence the title of the video, Solo on 85-footer. And I never lie in my video titles. It's snowing. So the reason I want to move the boat today is because there's weather coming. The wind speed is very, very low right now, so it's a nice, easy movement for me. But it's going to come up a little bit later on. So I'm just going to disconnect the power supply, which is off down here. Well, maybe you can come with me. For all the technology which I seem to have been apprised of by the guys who are now doing our videos. If you haven't seen those over on Patreon, Picnic Studios here in Nova Scotia have been helping us do a really professional job with those. For all the technology they've given me, things to go on my head, 360 cameras. Here I am on my phone again. So we get our 220 volt disconnected here, off with the breaker. Now, question, have you ever driven away from the dock with the power supply attached? God, it's sticky. It's like Gladiator, the frost makes them stick in their sheath. What was that? The frost makes the sword stick in their sheaths? Come on. Good Lord. It was already broken. Have you ever driven away from the dock with your power supply still attached? I asked this as someone who has. But I won't be doing it today. There's enough things to consider. Look at this, look how fantastic it is. Like, I'm always one for the adventure. And there's nothing like driving out into a snowstorm. So let's get this down on deck. Got to go very easy. It's an interesting choice what kind of boot. Oh, I'm dropping it in the water. Always an interesting choice of which boots to wear in this kind of weather. Temperature today is about -8 Celsius, so I've opted for my snow boots from Sorel here, but the grip on the bottom of them is absolutely horrible for this kind of stuff, so I have to be extremely cautious that I'm not going to slip around too much on deck. What I would like is some Les Chameaux, the French brand. They're the ones that the French Vendée Globe sailors wear. Absolutely fantastic boots, but very difficult to get in North America. I'll put a picture of them here on the video. They've got a really thick sole and gaiters. They're kind of the originals. 1927, I think they started making those. I really want to get some, but yeah, very tricky to get. So the extension unceremoniously being chucked down into the porridge cave. If you don't know why it's called the porridge cave, check out our video, full tour of Weddell. When we were bringing her across from Europe, basically the garbage bags broke open, and when that happened, I discovered that my crew had been putting paper towel into the bags, and suddenly the problems were manifest. All right, a bit unceremonious, but there we go. In she goes. Close that up. Let's get the main engine started. So I've checked the steering already, made sure I've got lock to lock on the steering. I've taken my sail tie off. I always have a sail tie on when she's in port, so the rudder doesn't just move and move and move and move. You don't want to put another 100,000 movements on the rudder bearings whilst it's sitting still at the dock. It seems unnecessary. Oh, look at this. It really is snowing. I'm hoping to goodness that this thing starts right up, because it was a little bit reticent earlier and had to be coaxed, but it should be a case of... Look at that. Here's one I prepared earlier. The boat's been made ready for sea. You see again another piece of equipment required. There's a snow shovel here. Not a very normal thing to have to take on a boat doing this kind of trip. Now, I have got in my pockets my EPIRB. People are always asking me when I do these solo trips. I have a personal EPIRB in my pocket. I have a little VHF in my pocket. I have an AIS in my life jacket, my back tow life jacket, and I'll be clipped to the deck once we get going. So we're all safe on that account. Now I got to get this thing untied off the dock. First of all, we're going to just check and make sure that the gearbox is functioning as it should. Ooh, this deck is slippery. Very slippery. Oh. Trip over the traveller, as I must on these occasions. Got my gloves and stuff here. You can see it's just started snowing. It seemed like a good idea to put my cold weather gear next to the God, it's hard being a solo sailor, isn't it? You ever doing this single-handed? Hang on, you stay there for a second. I'll put my hat on. Okay. That seems a lot better. So I'm going to go and disconnect now. We've got the quarter line over here. We've got springs, bow and stern. I'm going to whip those off and we'll come back and get her off the dock. All right, so we got the lines free, a little bit frozen, but we pre-prepared them. I'll show you a method later on of making sure these lines don't get too infused with water. It's very important for us here where things get so cold. I think you'll like it. If you do operate in cold temperatures, it's great to know how to stop water. You know, because like Nova Scotia's at 45 degrees north, give or take, which means that it's snowing now, but it was +9 2 days ago. Now it's -8, so it's up and down. When the lines get infused with water, I actually left this dock in 2015 to go down to Antigua, and we had to cut the lines on the dock. Like this guy here, we just couldn't get them undone. So this little trick with silicone really helps. So anyway, last line here. People often ask me, why I'm relaxed doing this stuff on my own. Pick your battles is the answer to that one. You'll notice that it's absolutely dead calm here. There's nothing at all going on. And I'm able to maneuver this boat around by hand. Just get the bum in. All right. Make sure the lines are completely free. Step down nice and relaxed. Now the boat's got mooring. It's got boards out, fender boards out, as you see here. So what we're looking for is that this back edge down here doesn't get hooked into the piles. So let's give her a little push off. Just gentle. And then we know that she's not going to have some kind of an issue as we come away from the dock. I've had that once before where a fender hanging down with the little hole on the end of it, like the classic fender solution, hole at the top where you've got yourself tied off, hole at the back, it hooked onto a cleat. Okay, so just gently astern. We've taken the she's just astern now. We've taken the plastic handle off because otherwise it's too easy to smash them in this cold weather. So just use a winch handle. It's a spin lock throttle. We just ease out the dock here. Won't get too much speed on. Big boat like this, although it's although it's big, it reacts very, very quickly to the rudder, to the throttle, because that keel plate is very, very thin. The keel's only probably 3 foot from front to back, and then obviously the bulb, the 12-ton bulb that's on the bottom, is considerably larger, but the actual keel is very, very narrow. We're just looking over here. Look how, can you judge the distance to the dock there? How far do you think that is? 2 meters, 3 meters? Much, much more, right? This is why it's always so important to give feedback to the person driving on a bigger boat. So you can just knock this guy, just get that click as she goes into gear. Really important to give feedback to the guy driving, or the woman driving, sorry, the person driving, who is unable to judge that kind of distance, and a big issue when you're trying to do man overboard. Not much going on today. It's only a few nut jobs looking to be out on the water today. And a little click. Put my gloves on soon enough, although it's not that cold. It's actually it's not even -10 today, so there we go. Just get the bow turn around. There's the Picton Castle over at the front there. Aronia in having work done. Here's the Fundy Leader, and then over here Maud Adams and the Catch-A-Lot. Down there in the distance you can see the Blue Nose, and then up from there is the Theresa Connor, which is one of the oldest. The Blue Nose obviously is a rebuilt ship, a replica actually, but the Theresa Connor is one of the oldest original Grand Banks fishing boats. So we'll just start to gently get into gear here, always checking that we've got water coming out the back, of course. We don't want to get into a pickle with the cooling. Boat like this, see, the problem is that so I'm just nudging her into gear here. There we go. Boat like this, very difficult to anchor. There's no bow roller, and there is an anchor, of course, but it's down inside the boat. Now you could go and bring it up on deck and do all that. It's an aluminum Fortress anchor, so it only weighs about 60 pounds. So it's quite easy to bring up on deck. The chain that comes with it's about 60 pounds, and it's all rigged, ready to go. So if you were going to get into a pickle, it would take you like 5 solid minutes to go get the anchor, shackle it together and get it over the side. And I've got to say I prefer that to having it on deck the entire time, where it can get frozen to the deck. So we don't have proper capstan gear or anything like that, so we've got to be very cautious what we're doing here. Good, all right, we're underway. Yeah, not huge flow on that engine. That little what's it on this one? Volvo, about 150 170 horsepower Volvo, and it's probably could do with some kind of auxiliary pump to help the cooling. Well, it's good to know that we have electronic navigation, and there's a nicely buoyed channel here, which I know pretty well. There's no depth issues. The only issue here is, I'll just show you a quick look at the chart where we're going today. It's only a 4 or 5 hour tootle, just to bring the boat back to the mooring. It's there's only one bit. If you look up as we go around between Cross Island and this patch of rocks here called Blue Rocks, you can see it gets a little bit narrow there. So that's an area I really want to be cautious with, but the rest of it is pretty much straight shot. And the great thing, of course, these days is that we've got Navionics on our phones, so I can chat to you and I can also check on the nav. So I'm going to go and have a listen down below, make sure everything's good. I can hear something that sounds like a bit of an alarm down below. Go and check what that is. Probably the charging on the main engine. Interesting. Saying that it's over temperature, which I'm struggling to believe. Yeah, we'll give it a minute to think about that. I should imagine that's more a little bit of air inside the engine around the sensor. Right, I'm going to concentrate as I exit the port here. There won't be much to see on this one. I'll drop back into you in a little while. It's just a quickie to kick off this season, get things rolling, and get the boat back to the moorings and start working on it. Okay, we're just going out past Battery Point now, which is the exit from the inner harbour of Lunenburg out towards the outer harbour. It's kind of like a figure of eight. I'll just show you a chart here. You can see where we're just going past the corner of Battery Point, and then we're going to head down here now with a heading of 150, give or take. That's going to take us out down towards Cross Island. Now, keen eyes will see that I have tied up on deck, got all the lines off. I just stopped off by the the canning plant, actually. Highliner Foods is here in Lunenburg, and just stopped off in the corner there to get all the various lines off the deck and the fenders off. I might be on my own, but I don't have to drive around with the fenders out. And then the fender boards are just made up on the deck over there. They'll slide inside later, but the inflatable dinghy is inside the bow at the moment, and I don't want to drop it down below all the gear, and then I can't get the bloody thing out when I have to row back to the shore once I get home. So yeah, not much to see. It's kind of like a fog condition. Well, it is fog, what I'm talking about. It's snow, but it's low visibility. Go at a safe speed, so I'm just doing 7 knots here. I'm pretty happy where I'm at. I'm pretty happy with my heading. Between my phone, the chart plotter, and the information up here on deck, I know exactly where I'm at. So I'm just going to keep tootling along here, and then about an hour we'll be up by Cross Island. We'll go around the corner and see what that's about. My coffee is now done. My extra large double is finished, so I will stop for a little while and make myself a coffee. Maybe we'll catch up then. And yeah, basically it's 11 o'clock now, and the weather starts coming in about 2, so we've got enough time to get home, and the weather that's coming begins very slowly, so I'm not worried at all. Yeah, nice day to be out if you like snow. One question I do get asked about sailing in around Nova Scotia, is it an issue with the lobster pots? If you sail up in Maine and Long Island and around that kind of part of the world, you'll know that the lobster pots are a big issue. They're forever something you need to be cautious about. Not so here. There's a season. The season finishes up about May. No one normal is sailing around here, so there's a couple out. This is a big area for lobster fishing, but they limit it to finish up in May, and then for the rest of us, for the boaters, it's not so much of an issue. You see here, if this is not something that you have to deal with in your area, you can see over here these two little, I'll go a little bit closer. You see these little floats in the water here? So they go down to lobster traps, and the lobster traps are wooden or metal boxes essentially on the seabed, where the lobsters climb in and then they don't come out, and that's where your lobsters come from. So these guys they're all different sorts of colours, which then distinguishes which fishermen put them down. Obviously it's all licensed, and they have long lines that run down to the traps, and oh, there's another one over there. See, there's a black and white one there, a couple of black and white ones. The issue from our point of view is that those lines are quite long. That allows the fishermen to easily, they have like a grapnel hook they throw out, catch the line and then haul up the lobster pot. For us it means that those long lines, you can get them caught around the keel. I love the keel on this boat because it's got a far keel, which doesn't it's not a T keel, it's like a big swept back thing. I'll show you a picture here. 12 ton of it, but it's very much easier for the lobster pots to sluice off the front of them. On the Open 60, on the Whitbread 60, Challenger and Falcon, it's so easy to pick them up. It's crazy easy to pick them up. So I'm forever having to be very cautious about those. But on this boat, it would just slide off the bottom. Okay, here we are up on deck. It's a bit chilly. Okay, well, just made the turn to start heading west, back down towards Herman's Island, and it's actually a good thing because, let's check the heading here, it's a good thing because the wind's now a bit more behind me. The wind direction is northwesterly at the moment, and as I'm heading west, you know, hang on, that's not true. The wind is northeasterly at the moment, sorry, I'm going west and it's behind me. God, the basics of sailing still elude me. But it means that the wind speed is reduced. The temperature, say, is -9 Celsius, and if I can drive ahead of that rather than driving into it, the wind chill is much reduced. So, pretty happy about that. There should be a northerly cardinal coming up here soon. It's going to be a little bit trickier to steer now because there's no, steer with my system, because there's no forces which are being balanced out by the little sail tie. The autopilot has not been used for at least 2 or 3 years, I believe, from the previous owner, and that was because of an electrical issue. Sorted out the electrical issue, but because the autopilot has not been in use for that period of time, the solenoids are sticky. So okay, so now we know that. So unfortunately we're back to still messing around with this, but she's doing alright. It is not the way to drive a boat. It's not my finest moment having to drive around this, because it means that this only works because I can come up here and keep changing the heading and messing around with the autopilot. We can just stand in the companionway up here, see what's going on, keep warm, keep dry, keep ahead of things. I'm fatiguing myself by having to keep coming out like this, but we're safe. Quick check at the back of the boat here. Lots of water. I see that the water is slightly dark. It's got black soot in it, which is probably a good indicator that the air filter is blocked. There's unburnt fuel in the exhaust. Hoppa! Always with a cap, eh? But it keeps the snow out of my eyes. Oh, there we go. And just coming into shot there. There's the cardinal mark. So I'm going to check my nav again. Up and down all the time. The issue is that these Raymarine touchscreens, it's so cold you can't operate them on deck, and you can't remotely operate them from inside. So you can't do anything. They're just stuck on like the shop demonstration mode, the welcome screen. So it's in and out. And of course the chart plotter is running, but it's quicker to use the iPad and then double check. So that's nice. That's a nice real world identifier of where we are. We'll double check on the chart, and then an hour and a half and we're home. Okay. Alright, we're getting into the final stages here. We're just coming in past Backman's Island and Covey Island. I got a little job going on here on the back deck to get the dinghy blown up. It's pretty snowy. It's beautiful, it's absolutely gorgeous, and with the wind behind it's not really that cold, well, with all these layers on. So we're just going to slide down here now. We're just heading slightly southwest, then we're going to turn back to the west. Oh, sorry, covering up the camera. The wind's blowing, but it's coming in from the northeast, and that's where our bay is very, very protected. It would not have been good to leave the boat in Lunenburg. We saw how calm it was at the beginning of this video, but once it starts to blow from points east there, it'll start to push the boat up against the dock, and that's not groovy. So, 4 or 5 hours work here to come on around. Not too bad, really. I got my hands quite cold earlier on. See, the good thing for me is coming and doing this now. Once we get into southern latitudes with this going around the world thing that we're up to, the gear, the equipment, what we're using, how we're doing things, it all starts to come together. How do you practice being in high winds and cold weather? Sail in Nova Scotia in the winter. That's a great way of doing it. So, yeah, we'll find our way in through here now, and I'll give you a shout when we get to the buoy. Okay, well, we're in the zone. We're getting pretty close. We can see the Lunenburg Yacht Club over there. My neighbours' houses, and perhaps you can just pick it out in the gloaming over there is Falcon on her mooring. So we're really very close now. And we can see, maybe you can't see from this angle, but she's lying with her bow to the right there. But one of the great advantages of this mooring here in Prince's Inlet is this great protection from the north. So Falcon sits very close in up against the shore, where Osprey's mooring is a bit further out. So it's going to be a bit windier out here, but there we go. Can you see her? All right, so we're at the mooring. Didn't go exactly the way I wanted it to go, because the wind, literally as I was coming in, I was going to grab the phone and say to you, look at the wind line, how different it is between this sheltered anchorage. You see over there by Falcon, there's no wind at all. Well, there was no wind here when I arrived, but literally as I arrived, I brought the wind with me, and it proved very difficult to get the boat to come to the mooring in the way that I'd like, and that's part of getting to know your boat, right? I haven't actually driven this boat many times in close quarter situations, so I don't know exactly how long it takes for her to come up into wind, stem the wind and stop. I don't know exactly how to, let's get this off, how to get her onto the buoy. That's all part of the learning, right? So what I did is I rigged a line from the bow, kind of a loop that was going to drop over the buoy, if I could get there. Oh, time to work. And that did not work. And then I rigged a kind of lasso, had them all rigged at the same time. So what we got now is I managed to capture the buoy by dropping a lasso over it at the waist. That's the black line going out here, and then the boat was basically moored like sideways, one line coming out the waist. But it was really the only place that I could get hold of the buoy and stop the boat from being but not out of control, but less in control than we would like. So I'm just grinding in now. What this line is, once the buoy had been kind of like grabbed with my black line here and dropped the lasso over it. Obviously it's not much cut being moored by one line from the waist. So I grabbed another line which I had rigged at the bow, which is this one here going through the pad eye on the bow sprit, and dropped that line in down there. You see it? So it's connected onto the one from the waist. So now I should be able to pull in on that one, and between the two of them we will be we'll be moored by the bow, which is of course the plan. So a little bit of grindy here. See, I'm talking to you and not doing my work. Mooring the boat from the side, is it still moored when you're doing that? Yeah, it's still moored. Is it safe to leave it? No. Can it be part of a winning plan to get the boat onto the mooring? Well, I hope so. Here we can see now the sail tie was a blow off. It just blew off the side of the boat as I was working. So this line was the one I managed to get the buoy here, get that line lassoed around it. Then I put the line from the bow on, and if I tighten in on that, I should be able to bring the buoy right to the bow, and I can get my boat hook and retrieve my lines. And yes, it would be nice to have some little floats on the end of the mooring pennant with some sticks on so I can pick them up. But for now, I get to warm myself up, lucky me. So let's see. Yeah, see our line now is coming down from the bow. So if I take it on the black one, it will redirect through that one off the bow, and then we should have the mooring quite close and we can grab the lines. So not my first choice, but what can you do? Got to moor the boat, can't magic up some crew, can I? Let's get it connected and then we'll have a see how it goes on the next bit. All right, so we're nearly there. I'm just inside, I'm getting a cup of tea, getting things squared away on the bow. I was really starting to get quite cold hands, and I don't know about you, but I've worked at sea long enough that I've had enough cold damage to my hands that when they start to get cold, it stops you working, but it also like psychologically starts to hit you. You kind of start to almost get into an anxiety state because you're so cold. I've got to say, it's something that I'd really like to challenge myself with. I have very low tolerance for cold water. When I was young, I had something called cold urtica, which if you ever had prickly heat, you get the kind of rash all over you. That's your body having an allergic reaction to some of the chemicals that it is producing, which at that point are kind of vasodilators. You're hot, your body doesn't like the chemicals which are being delivered to your capillaries to get them to dilate, and so you get a rash. For me, my body didn't like the chemicals between 16 and about 23. If I got cold and I'm going into vasoconstriction, you've got that shell core shunt where all of your blood volume starts to move from your extremities to your core to allow you to survive, basically. The chemicals that do that, I ended up being allergic to it. It's called cold urtica, and that would manifest itself as migraine headaches, unconsciousness, sometimes like almost losing control of your bowels. I've ended up unconscious, I've ended up blind, like a serious allergic reaction. And although it only lasted, as a lot of these allergic things do, for 7 years, between 16 and 23, the overall effect for me is is a kind of, I can feel myself like emotionally becoming very, very weighed down by being cold. So over time, I've started to build an arsenal of things which I can do. The boat is secure, the boat is safe, there are some housekeeping tasks that need to be done, but there's no point me continuing to do those things when my my psychology is starting to become less and less problem solving. So inside I come, kettle's here, we don't have any milk, but there's maybe a little secret here. You don't have to always have tea and coffee. I'm just getting some hot water and just putting the equivalent of 2 teaspoons of sugar in it. Tea and caffeine are a stimulant which I need to use when I'm at sea to keep myself awake. I can't be warming myself up every single time with something that leaves me jittery and useless. So we can kind of shortcut the system and just have the sugar, which just replaces. I found that during that period of time that I was allergic to the cold in that way, sugars was the thing I needed afterwards. So the equivalent of a couple of sugars going in here. It's that old thing, if you've had a shock, you're meant to have a hot sugary drink. Can't really do that every single time that something happens. I'll just cool this down a bit. It's so hot I won't be able to drink it, so I'll just put a splash of cold water in. Oh, there we go. Just warm the cockles and kind of get the brain working again so that I can be safe on deck. It's extraordinarily slippy up there. Oh yeah, you got to play with your own kind of psychology with this stuff. I can feel this being the solution that I know I use when I get in this situation. It's a placebo essentially. at some level. The sugar's useful, the warmth's useful, but I know that I'm doing the right thing to get past this. Otherwise I'll get like, kind of, yeah, like I imagine like an anxiety thing. For what? The difference of 5 minutes of coming and sitting down. Look, this is, it's pretty cold when it's snowing inside the boat. Let me close the roof, that might help a little bit as well, eh? But, yeah, you've got to look after yourself, and that's something that I really learned about being on my own, doing a lot of sailing, is, you know, I am the most important component on the boat, and so if I don't look after myself, I can't look after the boat. So she's secure, she's on the mooring. I got to just do a few things to get it as I need to, and I want to show you so we can finish up our little story here. But there's going to be a couple minutes of just drinking a cup of tea, give myself a pat on the back for a day's work, and then we're going to see what's going on the bow. All right, I've had my hot sugary drink. I'm feeling considerably better. Look, the snow's just starting to collect on the water now. What we'll do next time we go out is I'll make a better plan with like the the GoPro and stuff. Basically, by the time I had done the first 10 minutes of work here, the camera batteries had already started to fail. So we need a better camera solution than what I've got, something that will survive. Look at this. Although it looks a bit epic with the snow and the water and what have you, the wind has gone again. Another important lesson about boats, they will always try and make it as complex as possible. A lot of time just waiting will work. Had I waited another 20 minutes, I would have been mooring in this almost windless situation. You can see that Falcon is sitting there quite placidly. I will say, look at this swell. Look at this swell that's just coming in. That's very unusual for this bay. Huh. I can hear that wave running around the edge of this little lakey area here. Oh, isn't it beautiful? Have a look at the land there. Really very, very nice here. Okay, right, so what we got? We've got now 3 mooring lines on the mooring buoy. I think what we're going to do is we're just going to secure off with these 3, and then the lines that I use to secure the boat initially, I'm just going to make sure they're slack and then leave everything on. We'll come and get them off. It's going to be +9 in 48 hours. I can spend more time messing around with this, but it's 5:10. It's going to be dark at 5:30, and I've still got to pump up the dinghy. So the boat is moored. We've got this starting to collect, and I've still got to row 200 meters back to the side. But I've taken the line, the primary line off, the one that was on the bow. Here we go. That line that drops down from the front there, I'd like to get that out of the system. And then we've got these 2. So if I secure off this guy here, this one here on the deck, get that secure, then we've got all 3 lines nicely secure, and then we can get the dinghy pumped up and get ourselves back. God, I wish I had left the other dinghy on the mooring, maybe with the mooring lines in the dinghy. That would have been a lot easier, but yeah, you live and learn, right? So, okay, well, she's moored. It's a bit of a mess. I pulled it out of the water so you can see. Oh, I'm going to drop my phone before this happens. There we go. So we got the... Alright, so we've got the 3 lines coming down from the boat now. It looks a bit higgledy-piggledy because this black line was the initial line that we came in on. It's lassoed round, and it's lassoed around the connection point of the 3 lines that are on it. We've got 2 mooring pennants and a bull rope coming through the front. She's lifted up clear of the water so that if the ice does come in, it doesn't rip the buoy right off the mooring. So that is secure, however messy it looks, it's safe. So we've got another thing we have to do here now, which is that we've got to get the dinghy pumped up. We're just going to put this guy together. And then we can go home.